Hello and welcome back to the Northern Lights Sportscast. On this very pleasant afternoon edition of the episode 14 of the Northern Lights Sportscast, we have with us a special guest today, Alex. He is a good friend of ours. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And today we are going to talk about Major League Baseball, a long-awaited topic, I think, for some of us. We're going to go through each division, talk about every team if we can, and some interesting things, some not interesting things, some projected win totals. So uh, I think let's just jump right into it. We're going to start in the American League East. The division that includes the Tampa Bay Rays, the Baltimore Orioles, New York Yankees, Toronto Blue Jays, and Boston White Sox or Red Sox. I almost screwed that up. That was not good of me. All right. All right, Alex, if you want to start chatting about a couple of the teams, go right ahead.
Well, you've got to start with Tampa. They've been by far the best team in baseball, on pace to almost break the single season wins record. They're one of three teams to be top 10 in both pitching and hitting, and their offensive numbers are through the roof. They're on pace to hit close to 300 home runs, and they've got a sizable 5.5 game lead on Baltimore, who is another great story on the year.
Man, we just keep breaking home run records every year, it seems, at this point. Like, it doesn't seem that ever stays a record anymore. It's just the next milestone. Um,
And they did it without steroids.
exactly, right? Cross your
Or a
fingers.
juice baseball, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely interesting. I mean, I don't think, yeah, the Rays and the Orioles were not expected to be this good this year. So,
Well, the Rays, they made the playoffs last year and made it pretty far, didn't they? Or am I thinking somebody else?
Alex, do you remember from last year?
I believe they got eliminated by Cleveland in the first round.
Okay, never mind. I was thinking probably of the Mariners.
Nice job, Cody.
But
My bad.
the Rays have made the ALCS twice in the last 3 years.
Okay, so they're still a pretty good team in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And right now they are showing up with a 44 wins, probably the best. Oh, it is the best record in all of it. Only a couple
Mhm.
other teams have 40 wins already this season. Only one other team has 40 wins this season, and they just got it. The Rangers
And I
did.
want to say a disclaimer that the graphic I have on screen was created like a couple days ago. So it's definitely going to be old by the time this gets uploaded, but oh
And
well, who
it
cares?
and it looks like they're about to beat the Twins a little bit here in a couple of seconds.
What else is new?
And the thing about the Rays is even though they've had multiple pitching injuries this year, it's just next man up for them. They bring up a new guy from AAA and he has instant success. Their lineup is young and fun. Randy Rosarena and Wander Franco and Yandy Diaz are all leading the league in several offensive categories. And I definitely predict them to win the loaded American League Central this year.
Yeah. It's good you mentioned that because, yeah, this is the only division of baseball that everybody's 500 or above. So
Well,
rare these
Boston,
days. Like, it's so
Boston.
rare.
It's kind of also nice to see the Yankees and Red Sox not being the top two teams in this. It's
Yes.
usually those two teams at the top, or everyone knows those two teams.
Yeah.
But the Orioles really did turn it around this over from last year.
Yeah. It's good you're talking about that, Cody. I'm going to throw the projected win totals back before the season began of what the AL East was projected to look like. And it was going to be Yankees, Blue Jays, Rays, Red Sox, and Orioles. So, really unexpected where everybody ended up. That's baseball for you, though. It never
Mm-hmm.
ends up how you thought it would.
And Baltimore, they definitely have talent, but when you compare their roster to the rest of the division, I could see them slipping a little bit. But
Okay.
already at a record of 37 and 23, they are well. on pace to break their preseason win projection and maybe even sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, because let's be honest, the Yankees will find a way to leapfrog them, at least to get into the top two every year. Every year.
Maybe not.
So I would be remiss if I did not ask a question in spirit of our missing member today, and ask about how the Blue Jays are doing.
Blue Jays, a lot of young talent. They've struggled to find consistency on the year. Their star pitcher, Alek Manoah, he just got sent down all the way to below single A
Ooh.
due to poor performance. But really, they just are waiting to all click and put it together because a lot of people had the Blue Jays, as you can tell by their win projection, having over 90 wins this year, maybe even making a World Series run.
Well, cool. I think he would have asked something about him just because he always likes to talk about some of the Toronto teams and underachieving teams in the past. So, yeah, it definitely is different seeing Boston down there at fifth. But it's weird because if they were in the AL Central, they would be second.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a lot of AL Central jokes this podcast. So any interesting tidbits about the Yankees? I know everyone just groaned, but the Yankees.
Aaron Judge broke a door.
Yeah. Aaron Judge. I mean, you can talk about all the freakish things he does on the baseball field. You're right. He just broke a gate at Dodger Stadium, crashing into it at full speed. But he is backing up his historic home run season with another great year. If he can stay healthy, for a change, the Yankees actually have homegrown young talent around them. Anthony Volpe is their shortstop that they have high expectations for.
Okay.
But their offense is not living up to the name the Bronx Bombers at this point. They currently sit at 15th in total offense right now.
Okay.
Middle of the pack, benefited by a number 5 pitching staff, which is really carrying them right now. I expect them to make the playoffs, and we'll see if they can actually go on a deeper playoff run this year.
Oh, they will when they meet the I was about to say Vikings. Twins in the first round.
Yeah, no. If they get the Twins in the first round, they're destined for a long run. Gosh. About Aaron Judge, is he still top of the league in offense right now, or in hitting?
So he's been injured twice now this year. Okay. So in terms of counting stats, like home runs and RBIs, he's not quite tops. But in terms of overall slugging, I believe he is still leading the league.
I got like the website with player hitting stats, and he's like number 1 in OPS, whatever that means.
Yeah, explain that to us, Alex. We are not very cultured baseball fans, so.
OPS is probably my favorite and the most agreed upon hitting stat. It is on base plus slugging. So how many times you get on base, walks and hits, and then the hits are weighted according to double, triple, home run.
Okay.
So it's a good measure of total number of bases accumulated plus your walks on a per plate appearance basis.
Okay. So that's what that means now when I play the show. Got it. Okay. Good.
Well, he's the only one with 1 point. He's over 1. Everybody else is 0.9 or lower.
Huh. Yep. And just for reference, of anything over 1, you might have 1 or 2 or 3 guys per year, and that is definitely MVP territory.
Okay. Good to know. And all of you out there that are with Cody and I aren't exactly that in the know with a bunch of baseball stats. So, all right. Well, that wraps for the AL East. Now let's head to the AL Central.
Whoop whoop.
I have to laugh when I
The
look at this. Like it just
best
makes me
division
sad.
ever.
It makes me
It's the
sad.
best division. What are you talking
Oh
about?
no. it,
It's
it
the best
it just makes
division.
it worse because whoever wins this is gonna limp into the playoffs and get schmucked.
Mhm.
Come on, like we
uh,
got the Twins, we got the I was about to say the other name, Guardians, Tigers, White Sox, and the Royals. What can go wrong here?
so Alex, I do have some things that I wanted to ask you about this division, as I know all three of us keep up with this division probably more than any other division in baseball. So what the heck happened to the White Sox?
Well, you have to go back to last year because it started last year. They hired Tony La Russa as their manager. Just
Yeah, we saw it.
negative energy, and just a bad clubhouse environment. It seemed.
Okay.
Now they've moved on from him, and sure they've dealt with a handful of injuries, but they just play with no energy, no. Uh, they just don't look like they're having fun out there.
Okay.
Now in this division, I only show them as being 4.5 games back, and they are definitely not out of it.
Hmm.
But as Nate, you mentioned, this whole division has potential of being under 500 probably by the time this episode comes out.
Yes.
Well, the Twins just became 500 probably just a second.
Oh yeah, because when I wrote this, they hadn't
Nope,
played the
nope, we
race series
tied.
yet, so we're in
We
Yeah.
extras
scored.
then. Yay!
Mm.
It's just this division is so weird. I mean, each team's got something different going on. I mean, the Royals was expected. Like if I put up the projected wins here, it was expected the Royals would be bad. Like that was expected that they would be bad. But it was what wasn't expected is that the White Sox would be as bad as they are. Um, I suppose it's technically unexpected that the Twins are leading the division, although I think anybody could have said that was a toss up between the Guardians and the Twins.
Now, the thing that has really hurt Cleveland is their lack of hitting. Last year, they had a young team built on contact and no power, and this year they have neither contact nor power. They are 29th out of the 30 teams in team OPS,
Okay.
and they are joined by the Tigers, the Royals, and the White Sox in the bottom four. So
Huh.
the other four teams in the American League Central, other than the Twins, are four of the bottom five.
this
So that's
remind
all you really need to know about the division.
this reminds me of 2 years ago in the NFL when we had the NFC East,
Mm.
and I want to
Tank
say like
division.
three or all or almost all four of them were all in the bottom half of the NFL in offense.
And then this last season, almost all three teams made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, but that's football. I suppose we should stay talking about baseball a little bit. Um, well, in on the other side of my best judgment, let's talk about the Twins anyway. um, I don't know. I feel like this offseason they did a lot to ensure they had better pitching, as I think that was a lot of people's biggest complaint last year, is their pitching just let them down consistently, whether it was starting or bullpen pitching. What do you got to say,
Mm-hmm.
Alex?
Yeah, the front office really went out and made some moves. No, most notably trading reigning American League batting champion Luis Arias to the Miami Marlins in exchange for Pablo Lopez. And Lopez has actually only been the third or fourth best pitcher for the Twins this year, which is crazy to think about. A team that has consistently struggled with pitching throughout the years. They are now the third best pitching team in all of baseball, single-handedly carrying the team to a above 500 record and at the moment first place in the American League Central.
Yeah,
Did
that's
we
why.
talk about? Oh, sorry.
Well, that's why you just got to think. If they could just hit, if the Twins could hit, they'd be miles ahead of the rest of the division, like miles. It's just
Yeah, they are built on uh, high swing and miss, but when they hit it, it goes a long way, which is a completely opposite philosophy than Cleveland. And I hate to say it, but neither strategy is actually working right now.
Yeah. I know when we played the Guardians, I think don't are the Twins even with them, or do they have a game lead on this in the series? I don't remember because they just played 4 games.
Yeah, they split 4 games last week, and then I believe they lost 2 out of 3 earlier. So I think Cleveland has the edge in the series.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Always seems to be a very even series with Cleveland and Minnesota. Always seems to be anyway. Um, yeah, because the
I,
last time I remember the Twins having a really good game hitting wise, I think they had 9 runs at one point last week, and that was the closest point. But didn't they also like what team was it that they hit like 13 runs on at home?
they had the Cubs.
Oh
Yeah, the
yeah.
Cubs
Mhm.
series. So that's the thing. They're really streaky. That weekend, I believe they scored 27 runs in 2 games.
I was gonna
And I
say,
don't think they've scored 27 runs all of this past 2 weeks. They're
I was
really
gonna,
struggling right now.
I was gonna say the Twins beat the Cubs 18-1, and then like thought it was like 13 to something.
Hmm.
I remember telling you after that weekend, Alex, can they save some of this offense for other games that they need it?
No kidding.
Like they already won that game after they'd scored 6. They don't need to score anymore. But that's okay.
One
Do
more thing
you?
about the Twins. They re-signed Carlos Correa, who walked in free agency. He was their third choice, clearly. He made that clear. But he says he's happy to be here, but Twins fans aren't so happy to have him right now.
I wouldn't
He's
be
Uh,
hearing
either.
boos occasionally at games. He's really struggling. Now he's got a nagging um, foot injury. So we'll see if he can be the difference maker in the season if he figures it out and turns it around.
Yeah, because we know Buxton will be absent for the last half of it.
Unfortunately, yeah.
do you guys think Sonny Gray is gonna keep what he's has right now for the rest of the season here, or is he gonna get tired out?
It seems a little unsustainable. He walks a lot of batters and doesn't strike out too many. However, I think he will be the top pitcher on the Twins and likely a top 5 Cy Young finish, which I would have taken. I bet all Twins fans would have taken at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
He's a little past his prime, but he's definitely having a resurgence.
Yeah. I don't know. This division in theory has some promise for the different teams, but they just haven't struck that gold yet. So,
Not the
well,
Royals. They haven't even won 20 games.
yeah. Well, we will check in on these guys at a later date. Let's head over all the way to the Pacific. Let's head to the American League West, the division that includes the Texas Rangers, Houston Astros, LA Angels, Seattle Mariners, and the Oakland A's. Uh,
Wah, wah.
yeah, yeah. I definitely think we could start with that. The drama with the A's, the team that doesn't well, the last team in the dreaded Coliseum. First, the Raiders left for Vegas, and now it sounds like the A's might also leave for Vegas, although it doesn't really seem like Vegas wants them. Um, gosh, who knows how that's going to get resolved? I don't know if you have anything to share on that one, Alex, before we get into actual baseball stuff with these teams, but
Well, they're on pace to have the worst winning percentage in Major League history. But unfortunately, the owners would call that a success of the season. If they're trying to piss off their fans and get them to agree to
Oh,
relocate,
they
then they've done their job.
yeah. See, I remember a baseball movie. I forget what it was called, but what the owner bought the team and then wanted them to be bad all year so they could move to Miami. They want yeah, it was back when the or Cleveland, yep, wanted to move them to Miami. I don't remember what the movie was called.
I think it was Major League.
Yes, yeah, it is. That's what it reminds me of, although probably not nearly as dramatized.
Mhm. It
But
is really a sad situation.
yeah,
Uh, it's a bunch of AAA players on the field with no fan support playing in a dump of a stadium.
they
Uh,
had the
just bad
league.
energy all around.
yeah,
They had the least amount of attendance like 2 weeks ago for a
yeah.
game.
But fans really aren't the problem. I mean, like Alex said, the owners aren't putting any money into this team. So why would you go to watch them? I don't know why I
There,
would.
I know. There's some fans still going. Like I recently watched a video where it was just a guy talking about what the owner's done and what he's not liking about, and then it's him at the game cheering on the A's by himself with two friends, and there's like no one else around them.
Yeah. Not even the opposing team's fans show up.
Nope.
That's rare.
And the team he was playing in that game was the Angels, who were not far from Oakland.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'll put the projected wins up here just to show kind of how different it's turned out so far. I mean,
We've got to talk about the Rangers.
Yeah.
They've been the surprise of the season.
Jeez,
Yes.
yeah.
I mean, they were expected to be like half decent, but
500, yeah.
yeah, but not this good.
Mhm.
Like they're one of
And
the
the thing
surprises.
is, it's sustainable too. They're second in offense and fourth in pitching.
Wow.
And that pitching has
Dang.
been without Jacob deGrom, who just was announced that he is going under season-ending
Tommy John
surgery. But their offense and pitching has been clicking, and I feel like Houston, who has been the face of that division now for half a decade, is going to have a real challenge for the division title.
Yeah. And then, of course, you have the Angels, who are also expected to be decent, but no one can ever actually say they're going to have to do really good or really bad because you don't know how they're going to do. I mean, they're that wild card every year, even though they have the talent that they should be very good, at least from my perspective. I mean, what do you think, Alex?
Yeah, they've got two of the top 5 players in baseball, and Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. Unfortunately, I feel like they're due for another around 500 season. They just don't have the talent surrounding them, and pitching has been better, but I feel like they will miss out on the playoffs for, I believe, the 9th straight year in a row.
Dang.
Aren't they going to lose?
Ohtani.
Yes, at the end of the season.
That's going to be a big storyline. He's a upcoming free agent. He could be in a different uniform in as soon as 2 months if the Angels decide to trade him, knowing that he's unlikely to re-sign with them in the offseason.
Okay. He's definitely not coming to the Twins. I know that.
No,
But
the Twins won't pay him.
Yeah, he's likely to be a $500 million player.
so Yankees, Red Sox, or
Yeah,
Dodgers.
Dodgers. Yep.
That'll probably happen. The Dodgers will buy him out. Oh, let's not put that into being.
And then finally, the Mariners are a little bit of a disappointment this year.
Yeah.
They had a fun team last year, the emergence of Julio Rodriguez. They won a playoff series and had a good showing in the American League Division Series against Houston. But it really has not been their division this year. In fact, 4th place right now. I feel like their ceiling is only 2nd or 3rd, so they will be fighting for a wild card for sure.
Okay. Yeah, it's too bad. I know Seattle was one of the nice feel good stories from last year. A franchise that's constantly struggled to make the playoffs and win anything in the playoffs. So it was cool to see them make it last year.
Was it them or the Marlins that were like it's the first time in a long time they made the playoffs?
It was the first time the Mariners made the playoffs since 2001. It was
Okay.
the longest streak in North American sports.
I'm sure
I
someone
believe.
also claimed the next one.
Yeah,
But, well, yeah. And then the one team we haven't talked about is the Astros. one of the more hated teams in baseball. Still, I think, right?
I feel like they prefer to go under the radar.
Yeah.
They don't want people talking about them because that means that they're doing something either really good or really bad, and they prefer to just fly under the radar and be sneaky good all the time.
Not a bad strategy.
Just don't give them a trash can.
Yeah.
Cody, you love that joke. All right. Well, I suppose we can wrap up the AL then. We can head over to the National League, and we'll start with the National League East.
Back to
Uh,
the Atlantic.
yeah, all the way across the country again. Um, a division of quite the shakeup. Definitely something I know I want to note quick. When we were back in the Central, Alex had mentioned that the Twins traded Luis Arias over to Miami for Pablo Lopez. It seems to be paying off for Miami so far. Luis Arias is probably the hottest hitter in baseball. So I think
Yeah,
he's
he
got a
has it.
390 plus batting average.
It's actually over 400 now entering
Oh,
today.
yes.
And it's very unlikely he can sustain that over the final two-thirds of the season. But just that being a storyline in today's game of low batting average and high home run rates is a really fun story to follow.
Yeah, he's always been a very, I want to say, consistent hitter, but he's also never been like a home run derby guy. He's never gonna knock them all out of the park. He's just always been, I don't know if contact hitter is the right word or not, but um, very consistently on base. So
Just a quick update. All of the AL Central is now 500 or lower. The Twins just lost. So.
wonderful.
Hmm.
I'm glad we know that now. Alex, what do you think of the Marlins?
I think that they are actually outperforming their expectations right now. They have a really good record in one-run games, which could be due to a good bullpen, but more likely it's just luck at this point. You've got Arias and Jorge Soler. Arias with the contact and Soler with the power. But other than that, I feel like their offense is kind of flat. I don't expect them to make playoffs.
So, Alex, you're telling me we have the MLB's version of the Minnesota Vikings? I think so. Yeah. Although I don't
Wait.
think you can rely mostly on luck like you can in football. So
So, Alex, you're kind of saying Atlanta's going to be the only team to make the playoffs from this division? Or
I don't think that's true. I think that the Mets or the Phillies will make the playoffs again. All three teams made it last year. Obviously, the Phillies made it all the way to the World Series despite having the worst record of the three. Uh, but if we wanted to talk about the Braves, uh, they look like the clear National League favorites at this point. They are fourth in hitting and second in pitching. Very sustainable. They've dealt with a couple of injuries, and last year's Rookie of the Year, Michael Harris II, has not got it going yet. But thankfully, they still got Ronald Acuna Jr. and Sean Murphy and Ozzy Albies and a lot of recognizable players. And I feel like this division was supposed to be a toss-up between them and the Mets, but we can get to them next. But Atlanta are the clear favorites.
yeah, definitely seems to be that's what it's looking like. Um, Atlanta's had a good shake in the division, I think, for the better part of the last 6-7 years.
well, they won the World Series 2 years ago now.
Yeah,
It's kind of been them ever since that.
but yeah, Alex, we are more than welcome to move to talk about the Mets, who at the time of me writing this graphic were 500. I don't know if they still are, but um,
Nope, they're below.
oh, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
They've had a lot of injuries, I thought, before the season even began.
Yeah, they lost their all-star closer, Diaz, due to a celebration injury during the World Baseball Classic. You hate to see that.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then they brought in two veteran pitchers reunited from their Detroit days, Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander.
Hmm.
Scherzer has not been, actually, I should say, neither have been living up to expectation. And I'd say the only guy hitting for them right now is Pete Alonso, and all he does is hit home runs.
Hmm.
Uh, Unfortunately, high expectations, and I feel like they're going to fall flat in the end.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I know. After I heard Lopez, or no, Diaz went down in the World Baseball Classic. Like, well, that's not a good omen for the Mets this year. I know a lot of people were psyched that they did as good as they did last year and actually went toe to toe with the Yankees in New York, but doesn't really seem like that might happen this year. So
I never know. They might find somebody new and get at it, or the Yankees haven't been that hot. So it might be actually still close games, just not high scoring.
yeah, yep. But the Phillies are still hanging around too. They're at the time of I wrote this, they were only a couple of games under 500. So they're still hanging around, still lurking down there.
Yeah, the issue with them is their pitching. Last year they had Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, both put on really good performances, and they've even got Bryce Harper back early from injury. All he does is DH now, but they need to get it going if they want to defend their National League pennant that they won last year.
Okay. Yeah, and then the Nationals. Tell us a little bit why they're doing so bad because I know they
They
were in
have
the. Didn't they win the World Series a few years back, or did they lose?
20. They won the World Series in 2019, our freshman
Yeah, a
year.
lot has happened to them over the past 3 years. Uh, Started with actually the major thing was trading away Juan Soto last year or 2 years ago, and they've completely gone into rebuild mode. However, I actually think they are doing just fine considering the roster that they have. They've got a fun young team that is on the rise, and better days are ahead for sure.
Okay.
They're not looking at this. Their pitching is not that good, though. They're ranked 28th out of the 32. Nope, 30.
Yep. But number 13 in offense. So uh, they are kind of opposite of the Twins right now, but
Okay.
they are finding ways to sneak out wins. At least they are not not on the low down tier as the Athletics and the Royals.
Okay. All right. Well, I suppose we can wrap up the NL East here. We'll head to the NL Central. I know I'll speak for our missing member here that he's not very happy with this division either, although they are just a tick above where the AL Central is. I think looking at the projected wins, the biggest surprise is probably the Cardinals.
Pittsburgh. Oh,
No, the Cardinals and how well. I guess you're right, Cody, as far as Pittsburgh and how good they're doing. They were at the top at the time of me writing this, but and they were projected to be fourth. But the Cardinals were projected to win the division and are at the bottom, dead
In
set
fact,
at the bottom.
they have the worst record in the National League, even worse than those Nationals we just talked about.
Yeah,
oh wow, yeah, you are. The Rockies have one game better.
yeah,
Yeah, the thing with the Cardinals, they have such a great offense. You've got Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt at the corners. You've got all this young talent coming up. But it honestly could have been a clubhouse issue at the beginning of the year. They started to put it together, but uh, overcoming a 25-37 record into June is going to be tough. But I feel like both central divisions are still up for grabs, even with a last place Cardinals team at this point.
yeah, yeah. The Cardinals have shown that in the past, where they can
Have,
rebound at any point in the year as long as they're close enough.
have they came back from an 8.5 game before? That kind
I
of
want to
seems
say
far.
last year they came back from quite a deficit down to make the wild card, didn't they? Or am I wrong?
I think 2 years ago was the year they made the wild card, and they did
Oh,
come back late in the year. I'm not sure if it was ever as many as 8.5 games. I don't think they've been this far back in the standings in a long, long time.
okay. Well, I suppose we can then start towards the top then. What's got the Pirates all high and mighty right now? They're all the way at the top, or at least close to the top.
They've got a really fun bunch this year. Um, they're pitching really, really well, number seven in baseball, and Uh, they're definitely utilizing fun baseball techniques, uh, good contact hitting, a lot of stolen bases. Unfortunately, their young star O'Neal Cruz is out for the season. Otherwise, they could be a legitimate playoff team. Unfortunately, they had a hot start and have really fallen off. They're still right around 500. Uh, I don't think a wild card team is coming from the Central, so they'd have to outlast the Brewers if they wanted to make the playoffs.
Okay. I was gonna say then, regarding the Brewers and the Pirates, then who do you think's making the playoffs?
Brewers.
Yeah, I think so. Now, the thing about the Brewers is they've got a lot of young talent as well, not as recognizable names as in the past, but they have a good track record of making the playoffs. Unfortunately, not making it very far, but I would like the Brewers to win the. I picture them winning the division.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, at the time that I wrote this graphic and they were second, I mean, that's right where everybody projected them to be at the beginning of the year. If I flip back to the projected wins, like, yeah, the Cardinals were at the top, and then the Brewers were only just a couple of wins behind them. Cubs were expected to be middle, and the Pirates way back there, and of course the Reds. But the Reds have been winning games recently that people didn't think they should or could win.
The
They're
Pirates
turning
did.
into a really fun team. A lot of young talent on the Reds. In fact, a really electric prospect named Ellie De La Cruz just debuted yesterday, and he might be face of the franchise for many years to come.
All
Uh,
right.
Reds are overachieving at this point. I unfortunately I don't see long term success this year, but uh, I'd rather be the Reds than a lot of other so-called bottom theater teams at this point.
Yeah.
I've always had a soft spot for the Reds since red's my favorite color. But right now they're tied with the Dodgers at the top of the eighth, so they might beat them again here today in a little bit.
I think that
That would be
surprises me the
impressive.
most is how well Cincinnati's played in LA against the Dodgers. I mean, not many people do that. So not many teams do that. So, um, yeah. But yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Cubs, Alex? I think that's the only team we really haven't talked about yet.
Yeah, unfortunately, they were they're kind of a middling team. Expected to be around 500. They're under 500 right now. They've gotten really good pitching, um, starting pitching. I feel like overall they're just in the middle, but Marcus Stroman is having a career resurgence, and they went out and signed one of the top shortstops, Dansby Swanson, and they took a chance on Cody Bellinger, who's really struggled since winning MVP a few years ago. So they've got talent, but unfortunately, uh, they're kind of like the Angels, where they just can't put it all together. I predict they finish third or fourth in the division.
Okay. All right. Well, I suppose with that we can move on to our last division if everyone's good with that.
Yep.
Um, we'll head out to the Pacific again for the National League West.
How is it the Diamondbacks are winning this?
Yeah, at the time that I wrote this, the Diamondbacks and Dodgers were tied for the division lead, with the Giants not very far back. Padres aren't very far back as well, and the Rockies at the bottom. Yeah,
Rockies can come back. Sure, they're only 10.5 games
the
behind, but I
Rockies
think
though.
they can come back.
If I look
They'll
at their
turn it
projected
around
wins,
sometime.
if I look at their
Yeah,
projected wins, it's definitely a little different than people thought it would be at this point.
two huge surprises. A lot of people would have predicted Padres and Diamondbacks be flipped. Diamondbacks might be a bigger storyline than the Texas Rangers at this point. Uh,
Really?
they've got a young team. Corbin Carroll might win National League Rookie of the Year. Zach Allen might win National League Cy Young. And yeah, they're one game up on the Dodgers right now. Is it sustainable? The numbers would tell you that they are number six in hitting and number 19 in pitching. So not quite top of the league in the overall pitching, so that may let them down in the later half of the year.
Okay. Well, either way, they're doing pretty well now, so that's pretty cool to see. Uh, I always like to see the Dodgers not at the top, so I think that's cool. Um, yeah, I think something that's really interesting is where the Padres are, and I didn't remember hearing any big injuries for them. Are they injured and I just didn't hear about it, or are they really just underachieving this year?
They're mainly just underachieving. Manny Machado missed a little bit of time. Um, Fernando Tatis Jr. was serving the remainder of his suspension
Oh
for the
yeah.
first 3 weeks of the season. But for the most part, they're all um, they're all there, healthy, and they've got such a talented team overall. They are flat out underachieving at this point.
Okay. Yeah, I know because they were the hot button item in Major League Baseball for the last couple of years here, especially last year. Everyone wanted to talk about the Padres all the time. They also had those flashy jerseys, but you know, they had pretty good play on the field too. So, and didn't they really take it? Didn't they win the playoff series over the Dodgers last year?
They
Yeah.
did that. Padres fans may have called that their personal World Series, and unfortunately, they've been sliding ever since.
I was gonna say, wasn't it them versus the Phillies in national finals last
It
year?
was, yeah.
It was. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Which is kind of surprising because both the Braves and the Dodgers were the other two teams, and you would think it would be the Braves versus Dodgers, but both of the other two teams had the big upsets. This was kind of nice to see.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about surprises in the NL West. I still think Dodgers will end up winning the division,
Yeah.
and we may
The
forget all
Dodgers.
about what happened up to the playoffs. If the Dodgers can actually live up to their expectations, because talking about them for a minute, they've got some of the biggest names in baseball, and they are fully hitting at this point. Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Max Muncy, Clayton Kershaw is still there and doing pretty well, but uh, Dodgers don't have as deep of a pitching staff right now. A lot of long-term injuries, but they're the Dodgers. They've got a great organization, and expect them to contend for a World Series for sure.
Always
Do you
do.
do you think it's just going to be the Dodgers from this, or will the Arizona or the Giants get a wild card?
I think a wild card team will come from it for sure. It'll just be a question if the Diamondbacks can hang on or if the Padres can come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
No love for the Rockies.
Unfortunately, no.
Are the Rockies really young right now, or are they just kind of in the middle of no man's land?
Honestly, you don't hear too much about the Rockies, which is not great. Um, they've been Fans have been calling for them to go into a full rebuild now for a while, but they
Okay.
keep half look like they're competing, half looking like they're going in the tank. But I feel like their last place finish um, is entirely expected.
Okay. Well, Alex, the only thing we haven't talked about is the Giants. I mean, they were initially in contention and we're gonna sign Carlos Correa until he failed the physical. How have they fared this year so far?
They were another team that was projected to be right around 500. Uh, 2 years ago, they won 107 games and outlasted the Dodgers for the division. Unfortunately, they've got um, mixed results this year. They are above 500 now, or right at 500, excuse me. Um, and that's what they were projected at. I predict probably a third place finish. Um, a weird mixture of young and old, but not exactly living up to the winning tradition that the Giants have put forth in the past.
Okay. Yeah. Cody, you got anything to add on really any of the teams in the division.
Hopefully the Rockies figured it out sometime soon for my friends that watch the Rockies. But it's kind of going to be interesting to see if the Diamondbacks will be able to hang on or not, or to see if the Padres turn it around. But we all know this is the Dodgers conference.
Yeah. So, but if no one's got anything else, that pretty much does it for the NL West. And that's pretty much the end of what we had prepared for the show today. I hope you enjoyed talking about some baseball for a little bit. Thank you again to Alex for joining us today as our guest. Next week, look for some stuff from us about the NHL or the Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals. They're playing right now. I know, Miami and Denver are playing right now as we speak. I think Florida and Vegas kick off Game 3 tomorrow, or tip off Game 3 tomorrow night. Cody?
I thought it was 4. Well, never mind. Game 4. I thought it was Game 4.
They're just flipping. Both series are flipping to the other home site right now. But yeah, Alex, thanks again for joining us. Hopefully you can join us again soon.
Yeah, anytime. I love talking about baseball.
Yeah, I think we'll do some more baseball stuff this summer. So I look forward to seeing you again. But thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.